Hello people, good morning, how are you? Eu sou o professor Felipe, criador do curso Ensinando a Aprender, e vocês já perceberam que os últimos vídeos longos aqui do canal eu tenho falado sobre livros, dicas de livros, e os últimos dois aí das últimas semanas foram leituras de alguns contos. Já deixa aí nos comentários se você está gostando dessa forma, desse formato, desse tipo de vídeo. Aqui no canal eu tenho vídeos de dicas de inglês, tenho aulas completas de inglês também. Mais recentemente eu comecei a fazer aí alguns vídeos de dicas no geral, dicas de estudo, como você pode aprender realmente, ficar fluente em inglês, praticar sozinho na sua casa, com inteligência artificial ou outros materiais também que você tem gratuitos aí na sua casa provavelmente. E recentemente eu comecei a falar sobre livros, que eu acho que é um hábito muito bom, muito importante. Não importa se você está estudando inglês ou qualquer outro idioma, ou qualquer outra área sua de trabalho, de estudo também, mas a leitura é um hábito muito bom para ser cultivado. E hoje eu vou fazer um pouquinho mais ainda. Hoje eu vou ler aqui com vocês uma aventura aqui desse livro, que é As Aventuras de Sherlock Holmes. E eu já falei dessa coleção aqui da Ciranda Cultural aqui no canal, que a gente tem histórias aqui bilíngue, em inglês e português. Então a capa é em inglês e português, o resumo aqui da história do livro é em inglês e português também, assim como todo o livro, todo o material, toda a história, é tudo em inglês e português. Então, tanto para você que quer começar a ler, talvez não tenha ainda esse hábito de leitura, são livros pequenos, fáceis de acompanhar, e além do mais, se você estuda inglês, você ainda pode ter essa prática extra aí. Você pode ler em inglês e já vai ter a tradução ali ao mesmo tempo para facilitar. E hoje eu vou te mostrar exatamente como você pode usar isso para aprender inglês e até outros idiomas também. Essa coleção desses livros tem em outros idiomas também. Lembrando que todo livro que eu cito aqui no meu canal, de outros vídeos também, tem sempre o link aí na descrição, então vocês podem estar adquirindo também. Sempre tem promoção, ok? Tem sempre um descontinho. E, se você quiser comprar, por favor, utilize o meu link, porque assim você vai me ajudar também. Se também por acaso você acabou de chegar no meu canal, esse é o primeiro vídeo que você está vendo, você não faz ideia do que eu estou falando de aula de inglês e de outros livros que eu já falei, já se inscreve para começar. E depois você pode ir explorando aí os outros vídeos que eu já postei. Então já se inscreve, curte o vídeo, que eu tenho certeza que você vai gostar. E esse livro aqui específico, como ele é sobre as aventuras de Sherlock Holmes, ele ainda traz aqui na primeira página um resumo aí dos characters, personagens. Eu vou ler em inglês e você acompanha aí em português. Sherlock Holmes, the famous detective, managed to solve many mysteries thanks to his great powers of observation and reasoning based on what he sees. Dr. Watson, faithful friend and assistant to Sherlock Holmes, who combines medicine with detective investigation. Então esses são os dois personagens principais. Se você não conhece, por acaso, nunca ouviu falar de Sherlock Holmes, toda a história de Sherlock Holmes tem ele e o assistente dele, que é o Dr. Watson. Nessa história a gente vai ter Victor Hartley, a young engineer who will lose his thumb in mysterious circumstances on a dark night in the middle of the countryside, and Colonel Stark, a sinister man because of his extreme skinniness and his stare, who propose a mysterious errand to the engineer. Então esses são os 4 personagens que vão aparecer aí na nossa aventura. Chapter 4, The Engineer's Thumb. Among the cases of Sherlock Holmes, there was one that he got through me and it was really extraordinary. It happened in the summer of 1889, sometime after my marriage. I was practicing medicine again and had left my friend in his flat in Baker Street. One early morning I was woken up to attend an injured young man, with one hand wrapped in a handkerchief stained with blood. He was very pale and he seemed upset. I'm sorry for waking you, but I've had a serious accident tonight. I arrived by train and asked for a doctor at the station. I'm Victor Hartley, a hydraulic engineer. He took the handkerchief off and held out his hand. You could see that his thumb had been cut off and he had bled a lot. This was done with something very heavy and sharp. It was an accident, wasn't it? Not at all. It was an assault. I'll have to go to the police, although it's such an extraordinary story that I doubt they'd believe me. I have no proof. In that case, I recommended that you go to my friend, Sherlock Holmes. I will accompany you myself if you want. Yes, I need to tell the story. We went to Sherlock Holmes' house. My friend was in his dressing gown, reading the newspaper. He welcomed us with his usual friendliness and ordered breakfast for 3. Afterwards, he sat the engineer down on the sofa. Lie back and tell us your story. If you get tired, rest and have a little brandy. Thanks, I feel a bit better already. I work for myself as an engineer in an office in London, but I've hardly got any clients. Yesterday, a tall, very thin man arrived at the office, a Colonel Stark. After checking that nobody was listening to us, he told me that he had a secret commission and that he entrusted it to me as I was an orphan and single and would therefore keep the secret better. I didn't like his insistent stare and told him to explain. He offered me £50 for a night's work, although in reality it was only a matter of seeing a hydraulic press and telling him what was wrong with it, as they would repair it themselves. I had to go by train at night to Iford, and there he would pick me up in his carriage. He insisted that he was paying me so well for going at that time. Before accepting, I wanted to know more, and he explained that in his fields they had discovered a deposit of clay earth that was very valuable, and that in the neighboring fields there was even more. But as he didn't have the money to buy those fields, he had started to extract the clay from his land surreptitiously, and in that way would get the money to buy the other fields before his neighbors knew its true worth. That's what they used the hydraulic press for. I made him see that it was too much machinery for such a simple job, but he said they were using their own method. Finally, we arranged to meet in Iford at 11 o'clock at night, and I assured him that I wouldn't say anything to anybody. He picked me up at the station, and I got into a horse-drawn carriage. Did you notice if the horse seemed fresh or tired? Oh, very fresh. The journey took an hour. The colonel said that it was only 10 kilometers away, but I thought it was more like 18. He didn't speak nor stop looking at me. The house we arrived at was in darkness. Suddenly, a door opened and a woman with a lamp came out. The two of them spoke together in German, and I noticed that she gave a start. The colonel made me go into a dark room, gave me the lamp, and left. A short time later, the woman came in, frightened to death, and she whispered to me in bad English that I should go before it was too late. I, not wanting to lose my £50, told her that I still hadn't done my job. She insisted, but we heard a door slamming upstairs, and she ran out. The colonel arrived with a short, squat man who, from his accent, seemed English. They took me to see the machinery, which led us down some corridors and stairs. Finally, the colonel stopped in front of a low door and unlocked it. We entered a square room. He explained that we were inside the machine, and the ceiling was the press that came down to the floor with the force of many tons. I went out, and on lowering the control levers, I detected the damage and explained it to him. I returned to the little room, as I didn't believe the story about the clay, and saw on the floor that there were remains of metal. Just then the colonel saw me, and overcome by fury, he closed the door and started the machine. I shouted desperately to be let out. The ceiling was coming down on me when I saw a ray of light between the wood of the wall, which was broadening as a small panel was pushed backward. I threw myself through the hole and fell out the other side just as I heard the crash of the lamp and the clanging of the ceiling with the floor. Someone pulled at my hand, and I saw the woman from earlier, who urged me to run. Suddenly, we heard voices, and the woman took me into a bedroom, so I could jump out of the window. I perched on the windowsill while she pleaded with the ruffian to let me go. You promised me it wouldn't happen again. He won't say anything, she shouted. But he pushed her away, approached the window with an axe in his hands, and hit me. My hand let go and I fell to the garden. I got up and started running. I felt faint and noticed that he had cut off my thumb and I was bleeding a lot. I passed out in the rose bushes. It was almost dawn when I came round and I couldn't see either the house or the garden. I found myself next to a road near the train station. Nobody knew Stark there, and as the police station was far away, I came to London. Sherlock Holmes looked for a newspaper cutting in his archive and read that a year before, another young engineer had disappeared one night. Then he said, "Without doubt the colonel is a man who is capable of anything. We must hurry. We'll go to Scotland Yard and then to Iford." A few hours later, the engineer, Holmes, Inspector Bradstreet, another policeman, and myself were in the train. Bradstreet drew a circle around the area on a map. He said he traveled about 18 kilometers from the station, the inspector said. It must be to the south, where there aren't any villages. Everybody had a different opinion until Holmes pointed to the center of the circle. And the 18-kilometer journey. Counting both ways, if the horse was fresh, it must have been 9 kilometers. Maybe. But what do? They are money counterfeiters on a large scale, Holmes assured us, and they use the machine to make the metal. We'll catch them, assured the inspector. But that didn't happen, because on arriving at Iford station we saw a fire. They told us that Dr. Bratcher's house had burned down during the night. Is he a very tall, thin German? No, he's a squat Englishman, but a foreigner lives in his house, they clarified. We ran to the place and the engineer identified the rose bushes where he had passed out. Undoubtedly, the oil lamp set fire to the wooden walls of the press, said Holmes, but they didn't notice because they were chasing you. I'm afraid they will be far away by now. And so they were. A peasant said he'd seen a very fast cart with several people on it with large boxes, which must have been containing the counterfeit coins, as the fireman found nickel and tin, but no money. In the garden there were tracks of 2 people, one with small feet and one with big feet. The Englishman probably helped the woman carry the engineer to the road. The fireman had been much perturbed when they came across a thumb in a second-floor window. E aí, o que vocês acharam dessa aventura? A ideia desse material é você ter o acesso aí ao inglês e o português ao mesmo tempo, facilitando o aprendizado. Lembrando, tem link aí para todos os livros dessa coleção aqui embaixo. Espero que vocês tenham gostado dessa história e comente. Você gostou? Você entendeu? O que acha desse tipo de livro, desse formato e desse tipo de vídeo também. Espero que vocês tenham gostado e bye bye!